What is your lens of life showing you? What do I mean by that? Well, in life, we all have different views of different circumstances. I'll use an example of a conversation that I was just having with somebody. You can have an impression of, let's say, a specific industry. We'll use oil and gas for an example. And you're in the oil and gas industry and just slaying it, where majority of the people in that industry are suffering, but because you're doing well, you think that maybe the conversations and or comments or stuff that's in the media, whether it's social media or the newspaper or news on like the television, they'll say that it's doom and gloom in the oil and gas industry and the energy industry and that it's suffering. And it isn't just the case of one place like my province of Alberta. States like Texas and many other states that rely on the energy industry will go through their ups and downs, hills and valleys. And some people, depending on what part of the industry they're in, are not affected by the downturn because they're in a part of the energy industry that requires their position or their talent or skill, whether the energy industry is up or down. But that does not mean that the glasses that they're seeing through are wrong. The lenses they're looking through are specific to their circumstances in that industry, so they look at it a different way. But if you look through the lens into that industry, again, using the energy industry on a broader spectrum, so now you have a wide angle lens that you're looking through and not a narrow focus telescopic lens, but you have a wide angle lens which encompasses information from the whole industry in general. And myself in my industry of finance, I have a lot of energy industry clients. I've seen the hills and valleys and ups and downs of what has happened in that energy industry over the last 18 years. And since 2015, that is now 6 years later, our energy industry is not recovered in this province. Do I have clients that are still doing well? Absolutely. But a majority, I'm saying probably about 99% of them, are suffering. Many of them have not gotten back into the energy industry. There's no jobs out there for them in their specific trade and or talent or skill. And those jobs, in many of them, will never come back. And at the end of the day, these people have had to go out and find other jobs. They're not making as much. Majority of them aren't making the same kind of dollars. They've had to settle on less income, and they've had to pivot and change their lives. Then there's some in our industry that are dealing with people and making them think that it's all just temporary. Well, you have to look at the big economic picture. You got to look at what's going on in the energy industry. You got to look at it not just short term. So you may have a burst of work in your current job and get hired back to do a contract. That contract may last a year, 2, 3 years. Then all of a sudden you're right back in the same position because there's no work. Prime example is what's going on with the pipeline. I've had some people that were hired to help build the pipeline that's going from here to the West Coast to transport oil, right, internationally on a global scale. But the problem is those jobs of those clients of mine, I know are temporary. They know it's temporary and they're making the best of it. Obviously, they want to make the best money, so they're jumping onto that bandwagon and they're literally going to milk it for everything they can get. But I do caution clients that have pivoted away from the last crash, and which hasn't recovered because the pipeline is temporary, that if you're in a job and let's say you were making $100,000 a year in the energy industry and you had to pivot away and now are making 75, 80, you're better off to stay in that 75, 80 job than to pivot out to make an extra, right, 30 to 25,000 for 2 to 3 years and then come out and maybe don't have a job where you're making 75 to 80. I hope this makes sense. You need to look at everything in life through a wide angle, broad lens and understand, yes, things may be going good for you in your current circumstances, but it's not that case for everybody in your industry. So take out the energy industry and look at many industries when they have downfalls. Will that industry recover? Does it affect everybody? Or am I lucky? Am I one of the lucky ones that still have a job? And how long will I have that job? If your circumstance makes it so you'll have that job for the rest of your life, great. But that's not always the case, because every industry has so many different positions, so many different factors, right, that actually affect whether or not you are going to be stable within that industry long term. And the energy industry, unfortunately, is an industry in my whole life that has gone up and down and up and down. And I've seen so many family and friends go through that roller coaster ride and the stress and the anxiety of it. And then depression, because they look back and didn't save enough or didn't do things and they thought the gravy train would never end. And then all of a sudden they get slammed upside the head and now they have to pivot and try to figure things out. And that's one of the things I do, is to help people figure out the long-term, right, reliability of their current career, businesses they are in, whether or not they should start a business, whether or not it'll be something that'll work long-term. So I hope this makes sense. I ask that you keep an open mind and a wide-angled lens when you look at different sectors, different industries, different things in your lives, and understand that things may be good for you today, but they are not necessarily good for everybody. And they may be good for you today, and they may not stay that way. And I'm not trying to instill fear in you. I'm just saying, always prepare and make sure that you're saving and budgeting and keeping your life in track and in check, because tomorrow is no guaranteed in any industry. Things can change that quickly. I look forward to talking to you tomorrow. God bless you all. Peace out. Stay out of trouble. Drop me a message below. DM me if you have any questions and you would like some help. We can jump on a call, no cost, and have a conversation. Again, peace out. God bless you all. Stay safe.